Hiya folks, it's Kikoskia here and welcome back to Let's Play Outer Wilds. And when last we left off we freed the prisoner. We had to use all that we learned from the Forbidden Archives about the various glitches and errors of the simulation. But we were able to extinguish the 3 seals that kept the prisoner contained. We met the prisoner face to face. The first of their kind that didn't lunge at us and try and extinguish our flame. They showed us what they did that prompted their imprisonment, and in turn, we showed them everything that we knew. They were horrified, but also satisfied. And then they left one final vision for us before going into the water and ending their existence within the simulation. We now know everything about the stranger that we need to know, and we know everything about the story that we need to know. And so it's time to piece together the puzzle, the whole thing, from the beginning to the end. The beginning starts a long time ago beyond our solar system. Although I suppose it begins with the eye of the universe itself, sending out its signal to no one in particular. And who noticed it but the aliens of a world that orbited a gas giant with many rings. From their moon homeworld, one of them noticed the signal. They didn't look at it directly. They saw it through a telescope of some sort. And they were captivated, excited, enthralled. They showed others of their kind, and they too were also interested. They wanted to know more. They wanted to get to the eye and see what it was up close. But it was so far away, and they all wanted to go. And so they built a giant ship, the Stranger. But the cost of that was high. Too high, some would say. They ravaged their homeworld to get the materials, cut down the trees, dredged all the water, took all the life from the cradle that was their homeworld, and turned it into the Stranger, their vessel through the stars. And so they came to our solar system, long before the Harthians were a thing. And when there, the leader of their kind looked upon the eye again. As before, they didn't do it directly. They used the device to stare at it. And they saw something very different. They saw that looking upon the eye would destroy everything. It would kill them. And it would turn all that they had made to ruin and dust. Horrified at this, their reverence turned into disgust. They burnt down the temples they had erected to the eye, and then realized what they had done. They couldn't go back to their homeworld. They couldn't regain that which they'd lost, and they despaired. And so they built the simulation. The Stranger would run a simulated version of their homeworld. An illusion. But one real enough that they could lose themselves in it and pretend that they were back where they had been before. Many things were discovered in the process of creating a simulation. They discovered that a very specific kind of artifact was needed. They learned that those that died with an artifact in hand within range of these green flames would also be brought into the simulation, and that they could continue to live in that world. To make sure no one else ever sought the eye and destroyed everything, they created a signal blocker that dampened the eye's signal. It didn't emit anymore. Content with their simulation and the knowledge that no one else would do what they nearly did, the aliens went to sleep and dreamed within the simulation. But one was not content, and I believe that was the one that initially found the eye. They woke up. They deactivated the signal dampener, and the eye began broadcasting its signal once more. But the other aliens noticed. They woke up too. They found the alien that deactivated the signal blocker. They imprisoned them, built a special vault to seal them away, both in the physical world and in the simulation, and cast them aside forever. To make sure that this never happened again, they destroyed the controls for the signal blocker so it couldn't be deactivated. They burnt almost all the reels so that knowledge of what they did and what was going on would never fall into the hands of others. And they returned to a simulation with no intention of waking up again. Slowly over time, their bodies withered and died, but they endured, including the prisoner, trapped in isolation. I said they still had access to a telescope. There was a kindness in the captivity, but they were secluded and alone for who knows how long. The aliens hoped that no one had detected the signal, but that was not the case. For then we get to the Nomai. One clan of Nomai noticed the signal. For the brief period that it broadcasted, they saw it. And they too were captivated. They wanted to see the eye of the universe, and so they sent their ship over to our system. But they appeared in dark bramble, right in the midst of the thorns and vines. The vessel was ensnared, damaged. In desperation, the Nomai launched their escape pods. 2 of them managed to get away, but one of them didn't. The ones that didn't tried to get back to the vessel and failed. They died. The other 2 pods, however, they managed to escape. One of them landed on Brittle Hollow, a very unstable planet. At first they made a small settlement to protect themselves from the surface, then they made a more permanent settlement. The other one landed on Ember Twin. There they found a small pocket of caves that didn't get filled by the sands from Ash Twin, and they built a settlement there. For a time, they focused on survival, but once they were comfortable, they began trying to seek that which they had come for, the eye of the universe. But it wasn't there. They couldn't see it anymore. It had been hidden again. They knew it was somewhere, but they couldn't locate it, and so the search began. They started to conduct experiments. They built contraptions to find the eye, but none of them worked. And then they had the idea of creating a probe cannon, firing out a probe to seek it. A probe cannon that would launch a probe a long distance, scan about, and relay back if they found the eye or not. But searching the stars would take an incredibly long time. While this was going on, they discovered things like the quantum moon, which held significance to them because of its proximity to the eye. But they didn't know exactly where the quantum moon was, so they couldn't use the quantum moon location to figure out where the eye was. The quantum moon being quantum, it was a truly strange thing. Eventually they had the idea of the Ash Twin project, in conjunction with the orbital probe cannon. Unfortunately, to do this, they had to use our sun. At this point they had encountered Harthians in one form or another. The Harthians had not yet evolved into what they are now. They were still creatures that lived exclusively in the water. And the Nomai observed them, and Nomai noted with curiosity that we were there. With the discovery of the fact that the teleportation system they created was capable of making things appear before they were sent out, they came up with the idea of a time loop. What they would do is they would have the orbital probe cannon fire a probe, and it would send the information of what it did or didn't discover back, and then the Ash Twin Project would use a colossal amount of power to send that information back in time using specially created statues, sending the memories to Nomai that were linked to the statues, so that they would then know how that went. They would know if the probe found the eye or not, and this loop could keep on going forever and ever and ever until it was discovered. Then they could turn off the Ash Twin Project and know the location. Now, to do this, to get the power for this, they'd have to destroy the sun. Which sounds terrible, but then you realize that when they get the information about the Eye of the Universe, they wouldn't need to destroy the sun, because they'd have the knowledge before the sun is destroyed, and then they could stop the project and go, we're done, we have what we need, don't destroy the sun. It seems cruel on the outset, but it was actually incredibly ingenious. The problem was, the sun wouldn't give them the energy they needed. Like, they couldn't supernova the sun. The project failed. It didn't give them the power required. They couldn't get the sun to blow up. They were in despair. Their plan was so close, but so far away. And then the interloper showed up. The interloper showed up and killed all of them. The ghost matter was deep within the core of the interloper. Too late, the Nomai realized what was going on. They tried to send out warnings, but the core of the interloper burst. Ghost matter blanketed the planets in the system and killed all the Nomai, with the exception of one, Solanum. Solanum was on the quantum moon when it happened. All instances of Solanum died, save the one on the quantum moon at the Eye of the Universe. That quantum instance of the Eye was far enough away that that instance of Solanum survived, but all the others didn't. The Harthians survived because they were an aquatic species at that point, and the ghost matter cannot penetrate water, so they lived. Over time, the ghost matter began to dissipate. The Harthians evolved and became that which we know and we are. And they started exploring about their planet, and then the solar system, and they found the Nomai ruins and looked at them with wonder. They couldn't understand the writings, though, but they learned to understand the writings, which brings us to now, which brings us to us. We have the translator, and we were tasked with going out into the solar system and exploring everything, but the sun was near the end of its life. The natural conclusion of the sun was nigh, and that gave the Ash Twin Project enough power to function. Where it had once been dormant, it now worked. And so when we went past the statue in the museum, the Nomai statue, that we had no knowledge of its true workings, it activated. It linked with us. We didn't understand the significance at the time, and went about exploring the solar system, and then the sun supernovaed. See, when we woke up, we saw the probe cannon firing. How many times had it fired? We don't know. Millions and millions of times, but that time, we went by the statue, and we linked with it, and we, along with Gabbro are caught in the loop. Because Gabbro also looked at a statue. Every time the sun supernovas, the Ash Twin Project sends the knowledge back into the loop. And because there are no Nomai to turn off the Ash Twin Project, it'll just keep going and going and going, despite the fact that the Eye of the Universe's coordinates have been discovered. No matter what we've done, no matter what explorations we have undergone, no matter what places we've explored, what things we've read, nothing we can do can prevent the sun from supernovaing because it's just old. The sun has reached the end of its life. 22 minutes after we wake up, the sun is going to supernova. And it's not just our sun. It's all the suns, all the stars. It's all the stars. All of them are supernovaing. They're all dying. When we got to the vessel, we read an account from another Nomai clan that barely anywhere is safe anymore. It's only a matter of time before everything is dead, before all the stars die, and there's nothing left. Maybe new stars will be created from the dispersed matter of the dead stars, but how many? And how long would they last for? We, the Harthians, are an unfortunate species. We came about too late. We are taking our first tentative steps into the stars just as they are winking out. And is there anything we could do to stop it? I don't think so. But there is something we can do. Solanum wondered what would happen if we observed the Eye of the Universe directly. What would happen? Will it change things? Its powers are unknown and strange. Quantum. What would happen if we observe it? We have the power to do that. We know the coordinates of the Eye of the Universe. We have a vessel that could get to the Eye of the Universe. And we have a core within the Ash Twin Project, a warp core, that could power the vessel. We've spoke with the stranger. We know the first steps of this journey that brought us here. We spoke with Solanum. And we've heard the voices of all the Nomai that came before in the various settlements and places they called home. We know of their experiment. We know what they were trying to do. These aliens chose not to go to the Eye because they feared what would happen, and thus hid in nostalgia and the illusion of that which they'd lost. The Nomai desperately searched for this, the Eye, and were willing to supernova our sun via a time loop, but they were killed by the interloper. And now it falls to us, a Harthian. In 22 minutes, we have an opportunity to get to the Eye. But if we do this, if we remove the warp core, the loop will stop. So if we do this, we have to get it right. I imagine the game will be quite generous in the sense that if we fail, it'll just let us retry. But it might not. Narratively, though, we have to get it right. If we do this, there will be no more time loops. There'll be no more second chances. We have to get it right, which means we have to go to Ash Twin. We have to get the core. We then have to take that core to the vessel by going through Dark Bramble, getting past those scary fish. Once we get to the vessel, we then have to put the core in, input the coordinates, and go to the Eye. And then, who knows? We don't know what will happen. All we know is what definitely will happen. Our sun will supernova. Our solar system will be destroyed. What aliens remain in the Stranger simulation after the waters have flooded some of their rooms? They will not die. Not right away. Solanum will endure on the quantum moon. We will endure, but no one else will. What will happen when we look at the eye? We'll find out next time. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're not. And if you are subscribed, press that bell for those notifications. And I'll catch you next time, folks. And I'll see you then. Later.